So welcome back to Driveway. Today, due to lack of pieces and parts and everything that I need to move on to other things, we're going to take a look at this front bumper piece and see what we can do to modify it for what we're going to use this car for. So, stick around and see what we end up doing to this thing. Alright, so essentially what we're going to do is remove the bumper cover. I already got the license plate bracket out of the way. So I guess I'm probably going to start with pulling out the grill here. Aha. Alright, so we got that up and out of the way there. Probably clear out some of this stuff here too while I'm in here. Because I want to clear up this grill to have a little less intrusion. Let's see. Well, we're probably actually going to have to remove this bottom tray piece, which I kind of need to remove anyways. It's kind of half broken and half dilapidated here. So, man, I got like next to nothing hooking into everything. How's my bumper even staying on? Alright, that guy's out. Alright, my little side pods down here are pretty messed up. So, Alright, so while I'm staring at this thing, I pretty much realize I don't need this cross member. It's really only for the hood latch and holding the radiator upright. And right now I don't know what I'm doing with the radiator, and I know I'm not going to need the hood latch because I'm probably going to go and make a carbon fiber hood, or at least attempt to. So I won't be needing that. So I suppose we can just lob this thing off and get that much clearer run here. We'll leave the tabs for where the bumper mounts, and this spot is where the hood touches down. So just by coming in here or so, just on that side of the weld, and see where we end up. Alright, so at this moment, I'm going to cut strip out of the bumper here and see if we can rig this up a little bit. You're probably pretty confused right now, but you'll see what I'm aiming for here in a couple minutes. Alright, well, after cutting for a little bit, I realized the first plan wasn't going to work, so I abandoned that and moved to plan B. So essentially what we're going to do here is take some of the leftover tube, and we're just going to bend ourselves a structuring bar. This way it'll, as you can already see, it's opened up a lot of space for intercooler and that type of stuff. It's also cut out a section this deep from behind. So we should have plenty of room for things. Like here's a big ass oil cooler I have just laying around. So that's 11 inches tall. And that should be pretty darn close to, yeah. So an intercooler somewhere between 10 and 12 inches high will fit right in this space pretty well. If it goes 12, it can come up a little bit higher. It all depends on what I can find. Let's see, one other thing I noticed. Somebody attempted to jack up the car on the radiator support. That's a big no-no. Alright. Now, you know, if I was a drifter, I'd just leave this as my only bumper bar. But I still plan on street driving this thing. So having some sort of bash bar won't be that bad of an idea. So low mile an hour hits won't do anything. That, and if you ever end up heads up racing type of thing on a road course, who knows when someone's going to brake check you. So just keeping minimal stuff off the radiator. Then up here to hold the top of the radiator, we'll just make some sort of removable bar. Maybe something out of like the leftover square tube I got laying around. We'll figure something out. Not like we really need that. So, this guy can go in the dumpster bin. Initially the plan was to section the bumper and then just bring it up and then weld it back together, but it was looking like a much more difficult thing than just put a couple bends in a tube and call it a day. It's like the thickness of this foam is plenty for a tube to pass through. So once we have the tube in there, we can probably get rid of most of this foam. I'll probably, with everything reattached in there, if there's a big gap, I'll just run some like expanding foam behind it to take up that little bit of slack and give it a little cushion. But doing it this way should also give us a good mounting point for struts to hold a splitter. So reinforcement is key here. And then these little fog lights, they'll be out the door. We won't need those anymore. No real plan to put fog lights back into it because we're going to put the brake ducts for cooling in where those guys went. So, I suppose the next phase is going to be bend up some tube and then see what we can do to the front bumper cover to get it fitting a little more towards this smaller bash bumper. So that's still coming up here. Alright, so we got our bash bar. Which pretty much lines right on up in here. So now I need to work on trying to get a tack in here. This is where another person would help out, but when you gotta crank along by yourself, that's a better burn in there. That'll be just nice enough. Try the bumper cover back on. All right. Well, I'm going to see if I can burn this pipe some more and then call it a day. Alright, so while I was waiting for the garage to heat up this morning, I decided to take a couple years off of these here lights. So, had some leftovers from when I did the headlights for the Tiburon. And this one here weren't too bad, so I didn't need the full kit. So I just buzzed it down real quick and there she be. So I'm out of gas in the welder, but the bash bar should be held on there halfway decent. I'll have to finish weld that at a later time. But now, the whole reason why I chopped that apart is, of course, the bumper cover here. So the plan is to attempt a modification to this bumper to open up a little more space for intercooler and that type of stuff. So right now we're kind of short on grill space. Either way you look at it, this is going to open up a little more grill activity. So, for the most part, we're hacking out about 2 inches. Over the course of at least 48 inches. So, that's going to give us 96 square inches of more grill. Dang. That'd be like having a whole 9.5 inches wide by 10 inches tall jammed right in there. So that should open up enough cooling for everything. So, yeah. I guess we just get cutting. This could be an absolute disaster, but I guess there's only one way to find out. Alright, hopefully I don't mess this thing up with this. It's kind of our last. Alright. Now essentially this is what I'm going for is when we stick her back on there, something along the lines of that. Then we just have to extend in between the piece. So I'm gonna have to clean up these 2 edges and make sure that they actually made up. And then we'll have to grab the soldering iron and see if we can burn them together. It's like part of the thing is I'm gonna put a bracket onto this screw here, so it'll line up down there. Put a small piece of metal there, they'll bracket that up. Then probably just get some fiberglass, some epoxy resin, and let her fly. But let me clean up these pieces, and we'll come back for the zapping. Alright, well this has clearly been a job and a half. Kind of stitching a couple pieces together. Trying to get it all glued here, and we'll see what we end up with by the time I'm done. But so far, not too terrible. I'm gonna curse at this a little more and see if I can get closer to a final project. Alright, well there's a lot more plastic welding to be done, but it's coming out pretty good. Kind of exactly how I imagined it. Here we go, get the whole feel for it. That's not too bad. Then I've got another hook from, essentially from an old Blazer. We'll put another hook over here for another towing hook. But I guess that's probably going to be it for this time. I'm getting a little too much plastic fumes going on, but all in all, it's not looking too bad. Yeah.